They blocked my solar panels, so I triggered a grid safety audit that stripped their entire subdivision bare of landscaping and cost them 6 figures in fines. I live in a brick ranch on the edge of a new subdivision outside Lexington, Kentucky. 92 houses, all built in the same 5 years, all under the same beige and burgundy HOA. My house sat on the corner lot facing south. Perfect sunlight, wide roof, clean access to the main line. I'd been planning the solar install for months. 24 panels, 400 watts each, enough to power the whole property and feed excess back into the grid. I even ran conduit along the rafters myself, hands black with dust and insulation, humming while I worked. Everything was ready. Then came the letter. I found it folded under my doormat, stamped with that self-important HOA crest, a little oak tree inside a circle. The paper smelled faintly of perfume, probably from Clara, the board president. "Your solar installation request is denied," it said, "on the basis of aesthetic non-conformity." I read it twice, the words thick with smugness. Panels are visually discordant with community standards. That's how they put it. Visually discordant. Like sunlight was some kind of crime. I walked out to the curb, looked up at my roof. The shingles were chestnut brown, clean lines, no overhang issues. Every other house had satellite dishes, Christmas lights, even a guy with a neon pink flamingo perched on his gutter. But me? No, my panels were discordant. I felt the heat rise in my neck. At the next HOA meeting, I brought my blueprints. I laid them flat on the folding table in the clubhouse, under the buzzing fluorescent lights. Clara leaned back in her chair, pearl earrings glinting, sipping from a pastel thermos. "You understand," she said. "We must maintain uniformity. Solar panels just don't fit our aesthetic." I said, "They're black rectangles. You can't even see them from the street." She smiled that politician smile. "Still, rules are rules." I asked, "Which rule?" She flipped through her binder and pointed at a vague line about visible mechanical apparatus. I noticed she skipped the paragraph that allowed renewable energy systems if they met safety codes. I knew right then she hadn't read it. When fury hits you, you can either burn or build. I decided to build. That night, I started researching. I pulled up Kentucky statutes on renewable energy, then the Public Service Commission's safety requirements for shared electrical distribution. The HOA couldn't regulate the grid connection itself. That belonged to Bluegrass Electric Cooperative. I found a clause buried 3 pages deep in their safety manual. Any aesthetic obstruction of electrical infrastructure, including transformers and junction boxes, required a mandatory audit if reported as potential interference. And guess what? Every decorative shrub, every stacked stone wall around those green transformers the HOA loved so much, those were technically obstructions. Clara herself had insisted on those little boxwood hedges during her beautification initiative. The next morning, I called the utility. "Hi," I said. "I'm concerned about transformer clearance in the Willowgate subdivision. Some enclosures look within less than 3 feet. The engineer paused, asked for photographs. I sent them 60 pictures from my phone, labeled with addresses, dates, and measurements. 27 transformers, all non-compliant. Within a week, white trucks with blue logos rolled into the neighborhood. Safety inspectors in hard hats started pulling tape measures, crouching beside metal boxes, marking bright orange flags in the grass. Neighbors came out in pajamas, whispering. Clara marched up to one of the inspectors in her heels, waving her clipboard. "There must be some mistake," she said. He answered, "No mistake, ma'am. These installations violate NEC 450.27, minimum clearance. It's a safety hazard." I watched from my porch, coffee steaming in my hand. The rumble of diesel engines drowned out Clara's sputtering protests. By noon, they'd tagged every transformer for corrective action. The HOA had 15 days to restore compliance or face daily fines from the utility and the state board. When the notices went out, I could hear the shouting through my open windows. The hedges they'd planted around each box had to be removed, hundreds of them. The fancy stone edging, gone. The mulch beds, the decorative walls, they all had to be dismantled. Landscapers came with chainsaws and shovels, tearing up everything Clara had bragged about in her newsletters. The fines hit next. Bluegrass Electric charged the HOA $500 per day, per transformer, until clearance was verified. With 27 violations, that was $13,500 daily. It took them 22 days to comply. $297,000 in penalties before the grid was cleared. Their reserve fund collapsed. The HOA raised dues, Residents revolted, and Clara resigned mid-meeting, red-faced and silent. The best part? My solar plan sailed through on the second submission. The utility approved it immediately, citing community grid modernization. The HOA couldn't object anymore. Their violation record made them radioactive. I installed every panel exactly as planned. When the inverter clicked on for the first time, the meter spun backward, and I grinned so hard my cheeks hurt. Now, when sunlight hits my roof, I think about those inspectors measuring Clara's precious hedges, tape stretched tight, orange flags fluttering in the breeze. The grass has grown back, but the HOA meetings are quieter now. People nod at me in the street, half grateful, half cautious. I consider revenge taken. Did I go too far?